So I am so bored of talking about COVID and Boris Johnson's incompetence. I thought that this week we could talk about Honduras. And I don't know how much you know about Honduras. I can't help thinking that when, Australia has the Gold Coast and Florida has the Emerald Coast, they must have been really cheesed off in 1960 when the International Court of Justice awarded them part of the Mosquito Coast. Lads, it's just not very brand friendly, is it? We should all probably know more about a country that contains a region called Yoro, where there is genuinely an annual rainfall of live fish which scientists cannot fully explain. So Honduras is a country very, very much under the influence of the Catholic Church. The leader in the region is this guy. He's Cardinal Rodriguez Maradiaga. In 2002, he said that he thought that Jewish people were influencing the media to focus on Catholic clerical sexual abuse as a way of distracting from the Israeli-Palestine conflict. And, the Vatican responded 3 years later to this disgusting display of anti-Semitism by putting him on the shortlist to be Pope. He didn't get it, but 2 years later he recommitted to the causes of truth and social justice by saying that he didn't think condoms helped with preventing the spread of HIV and AIDS. Now, it'll come as a huge surprise to you to discover that the latest news from this very heavily Catholic-influenced country is new extremely restrictive abortion laws. Of course, that's not in the least bit surprising, but it is actually rather remarkable because previously abortion was already completely illegal under all circumstances. So how can they possibly have made it more illegal? And the answer is they've brought in a new law which says that if anybody at any time in the future tries to change the law so that abortion is illegal, that change is preemptively already illegal and invalid. Right? I've never even heard of this. This is a legal no backsies clause. And thank goodness that its existence has only come to light after the departure of Donald Trump, because can you imagine? If you're like on the steps of the White House with the helicopter blades whirring going, by the way guys, every time anyone says Donald Trump, everybody has to go, is the greatest. That law, no backsies on that one, okay guys? It's terrifying, right? But I do want to say that in some ways it's kind of encouraging news, because really what this reflects is the fact that while there are 6 countries in the Latin American Caribbean region that have complete bans on abortion under all circumstances, there's also a really growing women's rights movement pushing back against that, and they are running scared, which is why they've brought this kind of law in, and it probably isn't actually going to work in the long run. The truth is that even this can be scrapped if people want to in the future, and we absolutely can and should be raising awareness and supporting those incredibly brave women's rights organisations in the region who are fighting back against this kind of stuff. Now, I will just say that it is really, really common when these issues come up for people to respond by saying, oh no, that's awful. I mean, what about women who've been sexually assaulted? And I don't like that line of argument. I remember when people used to talk about HIV in terms of good AIDS and bad AIDS and suggest that people who'd caught HIV from a blood transfusion should somehow be prioritised for medical treatment. And that's not how it works. Women who have been sexually assaulted should be entitled to the medical treatment that they want, and the same level of bodily autonomy and medical intervention should be offered to women who have willingly ripped their knickers off and jumped on some cock, because that's not how we judge people. But I will say that I do think there are some specific circumstances that perhaps merit mentioning, and one of them is that because of the extremely restrictive laws, we have in Honduras recently seen cases of 10-year-olds being forced to carry a pregnancy to term. And that is a particularly vile and horrific and cruel state of affairs, because a child's body is not medically able to do that without really serious, long-term, horrendous consequences. And we should definitely be challenging that. The other thing that we should do whenever this subject is brought up is highlight 2 amazing organisations called Women on Web and Women Help Women. And these are organisations which have websites, and women who live in countries where abortion is illegal can go to these websites. They can have a full consultation with a fully qualified doctor, and if they are suitable set of circumstances, they can then be sent in unmarked packaging the tablets for them to have a very safe early medical termination. Or they can be told about other ways to access those medications in the region. Now, of course, the governments of these very, very anti-choice countries are not going to provide that information. So it's difficult for women in these regions to know about them, and that's why it's super important to mention them. But the good news is that while abortion laws are not always marching in the right direction, the actual number of women dying each year from illegal, unsafe, backstreet abortions is falling, and it's falling because these days you can use websites like this to get an illegal, safe abortion, and that's got to be the better option. So it's super important to raise awareness about those websites. And you can also help fund them, and organisations like Abortion Support Network that help women who need to travel or need to get financial support to access abortion services. And I guess I'll see you next week for more COVID, Boris. Just try being competent for a week. Go on, I dare you. Take me at my word. Catch me out. I'll see you next week.